Start deciding to go down that path of life, I guess what, you're still a teenager, you're a little bit older.
Exactly.
So like how do you what do you do when you're like 16, 17 and you're like, I want to be a manager? How do you like run that?
Running around doing reckless things, sometimes the hood influence could make us do all kinds of crazy decisions, right? And that period of time, obviously teenage years, we're still trying to discover ourselves, trying to recreate ourselves, if I could say. And that time I was more focused on basketball, doing all kinds of sports, basketball, learning a little bit more about the music business as I'm watching shows, listening to interviews, paying attention to certain details of, okay, which artist got signed with which company, who are the people involved and whatnot. Once that was, once that became a reality in my life, I realized, okay, you know what? I gotta figure out a way to be in the right environment, an environment of people who are thinking like me. But it took me a few years, I would say, a few more years to realize, okay, you know what? Maybe basketball is not what I want to do. Here's what I think that's better for me in the long run. Knowing that I was around the wrong crowd, doing all kinds of things. Then once I passed that phase of just playing basketball for at least 4 to 7 years, I realized I got to put myself in an environment where people were really thinking about making bigger moves than I was doing at the time.
That's a big thing. You want to elaborate on what you mean by that?
Yeah. So what helped me honestly to think a lot more business was when I joined a multi-level marketing company. So
That's
I
a
had to,
that's an amazing segue.
yeah. But prior to that, like I used to always like to create things. Always like to put things in certain places. At the time, probably people would say I was a lot more of an instigator for the wrong reasons, but then I turned out to be the person that would like to put people in the right place, give people the right opportunities, right? And one thing I used to do in high school was back when we used to when we used to have basketball practices, we'd go to Provigo and just get a bunch of chocolates and then go to school, sell them at a certain price. And I had a few other people who were following me, knowing that they wanted to create the same opportunity. They wanted to sell the same items the same products I had to sell, which were chocolate. And I was like, okay, I'm able to make certain people think like me in a way where it's inspiring and motivating.
You flipped
That,
chocolates in high school?
yeah, I did, man. So I always knew that entrepreneurial spirit was within me. Once I gave that once I moved on to that next when I once I moved on to that next phase, which was thinking a lot more business. After I start playing basketball, that's where I was thinking of, okay, I got to put myself in an environment where people are thinking a lot more bigger than me. That's when I connected with a few individuals who were into multi-level marketing, and I did a few years in that domain, in that space.
So were you good at it? Like I tried to do the Cutco. Okay, I tried to fucking do that one, and I was trash because it's hard as fuck to at all have any level of success in any multi-level marketing. Like it basically means you have to know how to people person, and you need a network. It's not even just that. I was like, I didn't know people. How the fuck do
Mm.
you sell shit when you don't know anybody, bro?
But
Best weed
yeah, go.
scissors I ever had. But like that was not my shit. How did you survive that?
Man, I gave it my all for real. I noticed that one thing about me is that anytime I get involved in a project and I commit to something, I always give my 120%. Every job I had, whether I left at a certain point where they fired me or anything happened, I always made sure I was giving my blood, sweat, and tears. Now with multi-level marketing, what caught me, what really made me think I could do this is when I saw the person who presented the idea of 5 links to us, and I was like, okay, shoot, all right. He seems like he's doing it the way he carries himself, his confidence. And I saw myself through him, and I was like, okay, you know what? If this guy could do it, I've never met this individual. I know I'm capable of reaching out to people. I know I'm capable of bringing people together. Then I'm gonna shoot my shot. I used to go to bunch of different metro stations, subway stations in Montreal, and just pitch to people, whether they knew me or not. I would sometimes we'd go with my father at that time because my father wanted to join. He wanted to see the opportunity, and I would just see a bunch of people on the train and talk to them. Hey, my name is Max. I would like to talk to you about something that's very interesting. That's something that might interest you. And I saw that they had their phone in their hand, so I just pitched with the fact that technology was the next big thing, and they had to keep up with the time. So a lot of times there were people looking at me like if I was crazy, this 17, 18-year-old kid just talking to me, random strangers, but I had to get it done.
That's wild. I mean, I've heard of people flipping mixtapes, heard of people flipping other things. But damn, man, that's like the exact same grind, but like hella different. Like that's cutthroat shit stills. Cause yo, those numbers and those margins, like you gotta like be very effective to actually make money in that world.
For real.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean like you have to have sales skills like a motherfucker. um, so how long did you run that for? I could see how that would get you ambitious. Plus, you're getting comfortable with people, like just that
Yeah,
anything, anywhere, go pitch whatever people.
there you go. I would say around, yeah, I lasted probably a year and a half. Yeah, until some of the members of our team decided to split ways. They're like, okay, you know what? They're not. They realized they actually exposed us to the truth midway through our success. Like we're actually getting to a level of success. I gathered a team. I made sure I had 3 to 4 people on my squad. Uh, started thinking about creating a team for my team. Like you had to recruit 2 people, and 2 people had to recruit 2 people. So I was already thinking about recruiting 2 people for the 3 people I had on my team, and that's when everything started to change. Especially when you realize success could happen at the time. Not necessarily, well, success could happen at any moment, right? But especially you got to be prepared for the quote unquote success moments. What really made me think of, oh shoot, I got to be prepared for whatsoever, is when those leaders we had on my team decided to completely change lanes, switch lanes, and tell us, okay, you know what, guys, we need to sit down with you and think about what's your next plan, because we're leaving, we're cashing out. And they broke us down what their real numbers were, how they weren't necessarily making real money. And I was like, okay, wow, that was a reality call. Like no matter what happens, it's like, the army notion, or the army theory is like, whatever soldier goes down, you just got to figure out a way to keep going. And that's what I learned from that experience. I was like, okay, yeah.
You say words stills. Like you got too good with the MLM, and then they had to break down what an MLM really is, and you're like, oh, say word. That must have been heavy.
Yeah, man, it was definitely a shocking moment. I was like, wow.
So,
Had to max out my credit card, went all the way to Florida by myself, figure out ways to do it. But yeah, it was a great experience. Definitely was.